Well, welcome back again to Planet Doug Behind the Scenes. I say again because I recorded a video journal this morning while I was enjoying my early morning cup of coffee, but I've decided to go into Bukitingi on my bicycle and see if I can pick up a SIM card. I wasn't sure if I was going to do that or not, because of my mood and because of the weather. If it's pouring rain, I don't want to make the trip all the way into town. And the timing isn't that great right now. It's now 10 in the morning. Yeah, I have to be careful because I just checked the time on my watch. And it seemed later. I thought, is it 11 already? But then I remembered that I haven't changed the time on my phone yet, on my watch yet. I've changed the time on all my phones and my computer and tablet, but I haven't figured out how to change the time on my Casio yet, so I have to remember it's 1 hour ahead. Anyway, so it's 10 o'clock in the morning. That's better. So if I get to the Telkomsel office in Bukitingi, in half an hour or 40 minutes, maybe there's still enough time before lunch for them to help me out. Anyway, that's my goal for today. And right now, I'm riding my bicycle. I suppose I should explain these things. When I'm keeping a journal, I'm usually describing the world of my mind, I guess, my thoughts. But now, because it's audio only and I'm outside in the world, I have to describe what's around me. And I'm on my bike. I spent a few minutes this morning pumping up the tires, oiling the chain, dusting off all the cobwebs and sort of getting it ready to go. And I'm heading down the steep hill from my village off the volcano right now. And I'm just passing by my friend Chatti's house right now. A whole bunch of vehicles parked here. Wow, there's like four vehicles, like cars and vans, and a whole bunch of motorcycles. Yeah, I'm guessing it's because of the New Year celebrations. Today, I guess tonight would be New Year's Eve, if they celebrate such a thing. I don't know if that's a standard thing here, because tomorrow is the New Year's Day. It's the first day of the Islamic year, the first day of the Islamic lunar calendar. I don't know what's going on at Chatti's house. I hear a amplified voice, so I think they must be having some sort of a ceremony, or what's the word I'm looking for? A service, Islamic service. And Chatti would be at school today, so he'd be down in Bukitingi right now at school. Hello. Yeah, what a feeling to be back here on my bike. The fields are full of people right now, farmers working in all the fields. I've got the volcano, Mount Singalang, on my left. It's covered in clouds, but the tips of the volcano are actually poking through. And looking ahead of me, there's even a little bit of blue sky, so it's not all terrible as far as the weather is concerned. It feels, I don't know, when I got back to Sumatra, back to Bukitingi and back to the village, I had the feeling, like I often do, like I had never left. I've been gone for months, and you'd think it would feel quite interesting to be back, but to be honest, it just felt like I had never left. Hello. And there's a lot of people on the roads, people outside their houses, a lot of people waving, saying hello as I ride by. Hello. It's a man on a motorcycle, waved and said hello. And even those that don't wave or say hello, they're all looking at me and smiling.
Hello,
Hello. And it's interesting that hello is used commonly here, so it's not really an English greeting, it's an Indonesian greeting. They say hello, just like we say hello. But I was saying that I felt like I never left, and yet as I got my bicycle ready, it really felt like it had been a very, very long time since I had done this. Felt very strange to be switching over, for example, from walking and a knapsack to cycling and a pannier bag. And of course, I had to make sure mechanically everything was good on the bike. I had to pump up the tires, as I said, do a bit of maintenance, make sure that I have my tools with me, my tire patch kits and my tire pump, and basic tools for tightening and loosening things. And I was talking on the video journal this morning. Oh, I'm heading over through a large puddle. I slow down a bit because I don't want to throw water all over my bike unnecessarily. Wow, the streets are full of people. I'm not used to seeing this many people out and about. Maybe it's the New Year celebrations that have everybody out shopping and getting ready. I don't know how big a deal it is. Passing by a little cafe, music playing. My village, as I keep talking about, Sariak, is very small, and there really isn't much of anything there in the sense of like shopping, cafes, restaurants. There's really nothing there. But as soon as you leave that village and go to just the next village over, all of them are much bigger. So they, like right there, I was just passing by a restaurant with music playing. So even in my village of Sariak, I could get on my bike and just ride to the next village over if I needed to find a meal. But there's nothing inside the village itself, to speak of. Good morning. Another greeting shouted my way. And this is really nice because I'm still on the countryside roads. And in about 20 meters, I'm going to be joining the main road. And then things tend to change dramatically. Much more traffic, much busier. I have to really be on my toes. I'm waiting at the side of the road for a break in the traffic. So far it's not as busy as it normally is. So I'm on the main road now. Yeah, it's interesting. It feels second nature to be on the bike. But as I said, it also feels brand new. Feels very, very strange. There goes a passenger van roaring past. I'm monitoring my rear view mirror as carefully as I can to see when large vehicles are coming up behind me. I didn't put out a video camera because, again, I wanted to do an experiment with this audio recording only. I have my Rode Wireless Go microphone around my neck, underneath my shirt, and it's recording to internal memory, so I'm not recording into a camera. And I wanted to do this as an experiment, but also because even setting up a GoPro is very complicated. And then you're dealing with so many more batteries and cables and mounting apparatus. And of course, then you also have video files to deal with. It takes longer to edit, to copy, to export, to upload. I just wanted to try this audio thing. But it is so unusual because I'm seeing so much around me the world of Indonesia, of Sumatra. But now you can't see it because all you hear is my voice. It's very easy going from the village into Bukit Tinggi because it's downhill the entire way. But when I come back, I'm going to have to go uphill the entire way. Very slow process. And Chati was telling me that he's developed the habit now of riding. He often rides a bicycle to school and back, so he does this trip almost every day. But he also has a motorcycle. And it's a very easy trip on a motorcycle, but he says he likes to ride his bike sometimes. And in 100 meters ahead, I see my hotel, the legendary Oyo Mandiri Guest House 2199. I say it's legendary because the clerk at that hotel, he offered to be my sponsor for my visa, tourist visa extension last time, and I stayed at the hotel 2 or 3 weeks in total, I guess, as I had to go through the visa extension process. I ended up staying there much longer than I thought I would. And I should drop in at some point just to say hello, but not right now because I'm focused on getting to Telkomsel and seeing if I can solve my SIM card problems. Well, I keep calling them SIM card problems, but there's really no problem with my SIM card. It's fine. The problem is with my phone. The physical phone itself is blocked. So the first thing I'm going to do is ask them if they have come up with a way to unblock the phone. To do that, I think they would have to extend my customs registration. And the last time I tried to do that, they said that they couldn't do it. They didn't even know if it was possible. And they said I'd have to go to Jakarta, like go to the international airport in Jakarta and go to the customs office there. And then I could extend my phone registration. But that was the best they could come up with. But perhaps since then, because I heard a story, someone else wrote to me, another YouTuber, I believe, who said they faced the same problem, but then they went to Telkomsel and they were able to lift the block on their phone. So it appears that it is possible for some people. We'll see whether it's possible for me. I'm just now heading into the market area. There's a very busy market on the main road in between Bukit Tinggi and my village. And it gets very busy here. There's always a traffic jam. And I'm heading into it right now. It's a Tuesday today. I don't know if it's a market day. I didn't think it was, but it seems very busy right now. But yeah, around these markets, you always get a lot of congestion. And sometimes I can scoot along the edges of the cars, the narrow space at the side of the road where all the motorcycles go. All right, that wasn't so bad. I'm out the other side of the market already. It was pretty busy though. There's a man in a Mickey Mouse costume raising money for something. Whenever you see a traffic jam that happens routinely, where cars have to come to a stop for a while, kind of gridlock, whenever there's a pattern like that, a small market suddenly emerges around all the cars. So there's a lot of people walking up and down all the gridlock cars, offering snacks from window to window, and a lot of the local mosques are raising money for, maintaining the mosque or adding to it, rebuilding, and they are often standing there raising money. They have a sign saying what the money is for, and they hold a bucket, some kind of a container. And then you get the people in costumes, like that Mickey Mouse back there. And he was also raising money, but I'm not sure what he would be raising money for. I have some good news on my light bulb saga. I was saying earlier this morning that I kicked myself because I left my light bulb back in Malaysia because I didn't need one here in Sumatra. I already had one in my luggage, but when I got here, there was no light bulb. I went through all my bags, I searched everywhere, and I couldn't find a light bulb, so I've been sitting in my room, in a very dark, dim room with the tiny light that they have installed. And I thought, well, okay, once again, I have to buy another light bulb, which happens quite a bit. But when I was getting my bike ready, I grabbed my pannier bags because I had to shift over from a knapsack to a pannier bag that I can hook onto my bike, luggage racks. And then when I picked up one of the bags, I felt something in one of the pockets. It was something that had kind of a weird shape. It was like, okay, what the heck is that? I didn't recognize what it felt like. And I opened the pocket, and there it was, my light bulb inside a cardboard box. So, I very quickly screwed it into the fixture in my room, which is essentially just a wire hanging from the ceiling. But I screwed it into the socket, and boom, I had a much brighter room, much more cheerful. So I'm very happy about that. I've hardly pedaled my bike at all this entire time. I've ridden about 6 kilometers since I started talking. And almost the entire time, I've just been coasting downhill. Once or twice, I had to go quite fast to pass another vehicle, and then I would pedal to pick up speed. But other than that, I've pretty much been just sitting on the bike and coasting downhill. I just started pedaling now a little bit. Yeah, my bicycle is in a weird category here because almost nobody rides a bike here. It's probably just me and Chati would be the only two. And we go at a different speed. We have a different rhythm from everything else on the road. Cars, passenger vans, the local shuttle buses, the motorcycles, tricycles, push carts. There's such a variety of vehicles on the road, but none of them go at the speed that a bicycle goes at. They all go either slower or faster, and also my maneuverability is quite different. I can go places where nobody else can go. So me being on the road is quite a surprise to local drivers. I just said that, and right on the other side of the road, I just saw a man on a bicycle. It's such an unusual sight that I waved at him and smiled, gave him a greeting, fellow cyclists. I'm not sure, to be honest, whether he would understand my sense of having a connection to him and that I'm waving at him because he's also riding a bicycle. I'm not sure. Maybe he just thought I was being super friendly for no reason. We're slowly getting into the heart of Bukit Tinggi. As always, I'm astonished at how many commercial shops there are, like how many businesses there are in a typical Indonesian town. And I often wonder how all these businesses can find enough customers to stay in business. There just seems to be far more of them here than you would find in a typical city in Canada. I think if you stayed on the main road and you rode all the way through Bukitingi, one side to the other, your impression of the place would be of just one long strip mall, basically. Nothing but businesses, shops. And the great thing is they're all small, owned by individual people or families, which is not a very common thing in some countries. Like, I think Canada would be very different. Most of our stores are large conglomerates now, big corporations. We do all our shopping at Walmart, which has, good and bad. But here, it's the majority of shops are small family-run shops. There are large chains, of course, but there's enough space in the economy for all these small stores to flourish, which I really like. And then on top of that, of course, you've got all of the food stalls at the side of the road, mobile, on wheels, just selling all kinds of snacks, all the food of Indonesia. And each one of them, the person is making a living by doing that. Again, that would also be very difficult to do in Canada, I think. And then I keep passing clusters of Grab drivers on motorcycles. They all tend to congregate in certain places. And they're all, essentially, each one is kind of a small business on their own, making a living as a taxi service. And on top of that, you can't see them, but I just passed a group of 4 kind of like minivans. They're like broken down old vehicles, yellow, red, blue, different colors. And they are pretty much independent bus lines. All they do is drive up and down the streets and picking up passengers for a small fee. I'm sure there's some sort of regulation, like city ordinances controlling them, but I think for the most part, they're just independent and operate on their own. So each one of those is like a small business on wheels as well. So very different environment from my old life in Canada. I always find that interesting to think about. And I guess that's what makes life over here interesting, visually in particular, because there's so much going on. As I'm riding my bike along here, there's just, so much going on all around me. So many people doing so many different things. And then the architecture of all the buildings, there's such a variety. You never run out of things to look at, that is for sure. And I've just reached the downtown core of Bukitingi. And this is where my hotel was located, my very first hotel that I stayed at. It's right in this neighborhood, right downtown. I'm passing the big Bukitingi sign. Now from here, I have to ride uphill, and I go past the famous Bukitingi clock tower. And on the other side of the clock tower, there's a park there. That's where the Telkomsel Grapari is located. Gearing down on my bike, so I have the power to go uphill. Unfortunately, I still haven't found a hotel in Bukittinggi that really suits me. Like me being on a bicycle, if I had a reason to ride my bike through Bukittinggi and I wanted to spend the night here, I still don't know what hotel I would look for because I don't have a regular hotel. The first one I stayed at, a Red Doors place, it really wasn't suitable. And then the other place where I stayed, because the clerk offered to be my visa sponsor. That was okay if you go there with just a backpack. But with all my gear and my bicycle, there just isn't enough room there. It's not suitable, and it's way outside of town. It's closer to the village than to Bukittinggi. Yeah, I think there are a lot of pre-New Year celebrations going on because off on my right I can see the Clock Tower Park and it looks like it's full of people. So maybe people have made the trip home for the holiday and they're all out enjoying themselves. Yeah, the city seems much more open than before. Like I was here a few months ago and it still felt kind of closed down. But as I'm riding along here, I just have a sense that the restaurants that used to be closed, they were still suffering from, the pandemic hangover. They're slowly opening up more and more. And when you're gone for a few months, you come back, it actually feels different. I can see so many more businesses that now have the doors open. All these restaurants that I used to pass that were closed, they're all open now. Everybody's getting back in business. A little bit harder to talk now because I'm going uphill, breathing a bit heavier. Oh yeah, little places where you can get a rice bowl and coffee, and none of these little places were open before. I'm just a couple hundred meters away from the Telkomsel office. And the last time I was here, they still had a rule that you had to wear a mask to go inside Telkomsel. I'll be curious to see if that rule is still on the books or whether they finally given up on the mask requirement. One of the last holdouts. Yeah, everywhere I'm looking. I remember all these restaurants when I was making these trips before and thinking, fried chicken place, I could get some fried chicken. But all these places were closed. But now everything is open. The city has come back to life fully. All right, I'm just heading down the last little street, 9.5 kilometers from my village to here. Hello. And I'm hoping it isn't super busy. Let's see. I don't want them to send me away after going to all this effort to get here. Ooh, not so busy. Thank you. Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Same.
What can I do for you?
I have some SIM card phone issues.
Yeah.
Let's see if you can help me out.
Okay. So you bought the Telkomsel card before?
Yes.
Yes.
And it's still active. Everything, I have credit and data and
Still active, right?
yeah.
And then?
But I get a message that says SIM 1 disallowed.
Oh, disallowed.
And I can't connect to anything. I can connect to Wi-Fi in a hotel, but I can't do any mobile. I can't connect.
When you register the card?
It was here, actually, in your office. It was about 3 months ago, 3.5 months ago.
3 months ago. Okay.
So I'm just...
So we have to register the card again.
Okay,
Yeah, but we need your passport.
Mhm.
Bring your passport.
of course. I would be a very bad foreigner if I forgot to bring my passport. You always need that.
Yes. So do you still remember the number of the card?
I have it here, I believe. I think I had a similar problem before, and at that time, it wasn't possible, like, to re-register or extend it. But now it is. You can do it.
Yeah.
You think?
Maybe we can check it later.
Okay.
Maybe we can re-register again. Hello, good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
I'm Laras with you. What can I have?
Well, I have a Telkomsel SIM card
Okay.
that I got installed like 3.5 or 4 months ago,
Okay.
and now it just got. The card is working. The app. I have the app and everything. You know, credit, data. But I get an error message. It won't connect to mobile internet.
Okay. May I see it?
Of course, you're the expert. And I suspect, of course, it has something to do with the customs, IMEI. I still don't understand the whole system, but we shall see.
Okay, I will check it first.
Okay. I'm all done at Telkomsel for today, the Bukitingi Grapari office. I'll talk about the whole experience in a minute. I just wanted to set the scene. Like, I'm not riding... Oh boy, loud engine. I'm not on my bicycle anymore because right across the road was a ME-Ayam Bakso stall. And they're just getting set up, so they don't have the food like ready to go. But I pulled my bike in here, and I put in an order for ME-Ayam Bakso. And it's a very noisy place, a lot of traffic, and on my left is a school. So you can hear all the children in there. They have a lot of playground equipment, and it's pretty noisy. And I'm holding the microphone in my hand, holding it close to my mouth, so the quality of the audio probably changed dramatically. I'm not sure how close or how far I'm supposed to hold it. Anyway, let's see how this goes. I wish I was shooting video now because I feel like I need the intensity of staring into the camera in order to tell this story, because I feel pretty intense about it. Start with the good news. I mean, I guess you could call it good news. The good news is that, in theory, I've extended my phone by another 30 days. Actually, I don't know if it has kicked in yet, but they did that for me, they said. And then they said, though, that it's going to take 2 hours to process. So I have to wait 2 hours, and then my phone will be unblocked. And I'm just going to take a look at my phone now, because sometimes when they tell you it will take 2 hours to do something, sometimes it happens a lot faster than that. No, I'm not connected yet. So I guess maybe what I'll do is hang out in Bukitingi for a couple hours, or as long as it takes for my phone to activate again. Because if after 2 or 3 hours it doesn't activate, at least I can go back to the Grapari office, go back to Telkomsel, and ask them, like, what's going on? Can you, rather than riding all the way back to the village. But anyway, so the good news is they told me they can give me another 30 days. The bad news, of course, is that they would only give me 30 days. And on top of that, that's the maximum I can ever get. So according to the policy, as they explained it to me, once you enter Indonesia, you can use your phone for 90 days maximum, and after that, Indonesian customs puts a block on that phone. It blocks the phone, and you can never use it in Indonesia ever again, which sounds absolutely insane. That's not to say they were not nice. They were super, super nice. They have a great system at Telkomsel Grapari. When I walked in, there's a clerk at the front. It was a lovely young woman at the front desk. And it's her job. Oh boy. There's so much noise here, I can't even hear myself think. But anyway, it's her job to screen customers. So she sat down with me and asked me, why are you here? You know, what can we do for you? And she went through my entire situation, asked to see my passport, to see my phone, what is my phone number, any information I have about my SIM card, any information about what it is what problem I'm having. And then she put that all into a file, closed that digital file, and it gets sent to another clerk. And then I have a registration number, a queue number. And then when they call that number, I go up to the window, and then that clerk is the one who actually helps me. And the woman who spoke to me at the door when I first came in, she was amazing, spoke excellent English, very friendly, very polite, was willing to listen to me babble a little bit when I try to do my chit-chat approach to these things. She was happy to let me babble on and spoke to me like a human being rather than like a computer. And then there weren't that many people in the office, so I was served pretty quickly. And then when my number was finally called, I did have to explain myself all over again, which I always find weird about the screening process. You'd think that after you're done the screening, the whole point was to find out what your problem was, and then you wouldn't have to explain it all over again, and yet you still do. So I sat down at the window or at the desk, and it's nice that they have an open desk. Like they're not sitting behind bulletproof plexiglass or anything like that. I see some noodles coming out. My meat IMEI is being prepared. And yeah, so I sat down at a chair, and she's on the other side of the desk. She's got her computer, and I explained to her all of my issues as much as I understand it. My meat IMEI has arrived. Looks amazing. It's a wonderful lunch. A funny thing here, I always run into that problem. There's no customers here at all right now. It's only me. So I figure it's a good time to pay. I want to pay as soon as I get my food. In fact, I want to pay when I order, just to get it out of the way. But here in Indonesia, they have this idea about politeness, that you should have your meal first, and then you pay afterwards. So I did ask her how much, so I could pay her right now, but she wouldn't tell me how much. She insisted that I enjoy my lunch first, and then I can pay after I'm done. It's just how it goes. And then she opened up her computer, went into my account, was going over all the details. And that took a surprisingly long time. And then she turned to me and said, well, when you were here before, you requested 60 days. And I laughed and said, no, I didn't request anything. I just came here to this office and I asked for a SIM card. That's all I did. I certainly did not request 60 days. If it were up to me and I could request, I would have requested 20 years. That would have been my request, for the rest of my life. I would not have asked for only 60 days. So no, I did not request anything. But then she says, well, you were given 60 days, and after that, your phone is blocked by customs. However, you can get a total of 90 days. So what she can do for me now is ask customs for an extension, so I can get a 30-day extension of my registration, and that will take me to the maximum of 90 days. And at that point, my phone will be blocked, and I will never be able to use it again. And that's the best that she could do for me. And of course, I wasn't happy about that. And you know how the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Nothing changes if you don't say something. So I did speak with her a little bit, and I asked her, if she could explain it to me. Like, I told her that I really don't understand this policy. I don't know what its purpose is, and I don't know how it works. You know, when she said, you requested 60 days, and I didn't request anything, so is it possible to request longer than 60 days? And then she says, well, 90 days is the longest you can get. So, you know, requesting doesn't make any difference. But again, I asked her, can you explain the whole policy to me? Like, how does this work? And if I come back to Indonesia in the future, like, what should I do? And she couldn't explain anything. She just said, that's the policy. It's from the government. The government puts a 90-day limit on your smartphone, and that's it. That's just what she's been told. That's what her computer tells her. She doesn't know anything about it. She can't do anything about it. She can't change anything. She's just following what she sees on her computer screen. So she said to me, well, would you like me to get the extra 30 days for you? And I said, yes. But then she said, okay, I have to get permission from my supervisor. So she left and she went to a back room and she was gone for quite a while. I guess she had to talk to her supervisors and tell them all about me, my story, my history. And their supervisors, based on what she told them, had to approve me as a person that I can get another 30 days on my phone. And again, you have to understand that this has got nothing to do with the SIM card. The SIM card is valid, has almost a limitless validity. They're talking about the phone itself, how long I can use the phone inside Indonesia. And then she came back, and I was worried about what the supervisor was going to say. And then she says, okay, the supervisor has approved, and I can now try to get you another 30 days. And I didn't really understand anything that was going on. But then she sat down at her computer, and I would swear that she typed enough and long enough, she could have written a 10-page email. She could have written a short novella. It's kind of astonishing how complicated it was. All the typing she had to do, all the different screens she had to go to. It took an incredibly long time. And then I had to hold up my passport open to my information page, and I had to hold it beside my head so that she could take a picture of me posing with my passport as part of a customs security identification procedure as well. So from beginning to end, it felt like I was being processed by the police department for a criminal offense. That was the mood. I mean, that's what it felt like to me. So it's a very strange system. I don't understand it at all. And I'm still sitting here across the road from Telkomsel, and I'm waiting for customs to process the 30-day extension. And at the end of 30 days, that's it. This phone will be blocked forever, and I will have no choice but to get a third phone and get a brand new SIM card. So it's very, very complicated and very confusing. But that's where we stand right now. So I'm all done with my mie ayam bakso. It's a lot more expensive than I thought it would be, but I guess prices never stay still. You go away for a couple of months, and when you come back, the prices have gone up considerably. It's just the way things are, inflation and all that. But yeah, I still haven't gotten access to the internet yet, so I guess Telkomsel has applied for my 30-day extension, but now it has to go through customs, and then they have to turn my phone back on. It's crazy to think that there's somebody in customs sitting at a computer who can control my smartphone, can turn it on and off with the flick of a button on their computer screen. Yeah. I was kind of curious whether the clerk at Telkomsel could really understand what I was saying, like not the English. Her English was more than good enough to understand everything that I was saying, but more about what the significance of it was. I'm trying to break down the logic for her that what it means is that for anyone who comes to Indonesia more than once in their life, they have to buy a new phone every time they come to Indonesia. Yeah, I mean, that's basically the result of this policy, that every time you come to Indonesia as a tourist, you have to buy a new phone. And I'm trying to explain that to her, that she's giving me 30 more days to use this phone, but I'm going to be in Indonesia for 60 days. So in 30 days, I have to come back to Telkomsel with a brand new phone.
How are you?
Hello. And get a new SIM card. And then if I want to come to Indonesia again next year in 2024, before I come here, I have to buy yet another phone. And I'm trying to convey this to her, but I'm not really getting the reaction I'm expecting. I don't think she quite understands. She's just simply following the instructions on her computer screen. And they were telling her, basically, that I got 60 days and they can give me 30 more days. And that's just the end of it as far as she's concerned. Well, that is it. Leaving from the grocery store. Didn't pick up anything fancy, just some staples. And I still don't have access to the internet. Whatever application Telkomsel put into customs, they haven't acted on it yet. My 30-day extension. But she did say it would take 2 hours for it to be completed. But I don't really want to wait around in town much longer because the clouds are moving in and it's going to be raining heavily pretty soon. So it's time to just get on the road and start cycling back to my home. I want to get there before the rain arrives. Again, it's kind of funny recording audio with what's going on around me. I'm just cycling through these busy intersections here. It's just insane. You really have to keep your eyes open. Make sure you don't run into somebody or they don't run into you. They're coming at you from all directions. It is now an hour, maybe 2 hours later, I'm not sure. But I've just made it back out into the countryside. I've turned off from the main highway, the main road that goes to Padang, and I'm now following the small countryside roads to Sariak. And of course it started to rain, though it's not raining that heavily, but I put the rain covers onto my pannier bag. And I do have a pretty good rain jacket with me, which I almost never use because I don't tend to stay out in the rain. I mean, if it starts to rain heavily, I head for shelter, so I never really need the rain jacket. And if I put it on now, cycling up this steep hill, I'd end up sweating so badly inside the raincoat that I might as well just be... Hello. I might as well just get wet from the rain. Amounts to the same thing. Oh, nice to get off that busy road. And I noticed when I rode in on the bus the other day, or when I came to town on the van, and then came out to the village with Chati, I noticed a brand new supermarket. It feels a little bit like a convenience store. I mean, not a true supermarket, not a real grocery store, but quite a bit larger than a normal convenience store. So somewhere in between a big 7-Eleven and a supermarket. And I just popped in there to see what they had. There weren't any surprises, but I picked up a bottle of water while I was there, and I waited hello, under some shelter. When the rain got particularly heavy, had a little carton of milk. It was very nice sitting there. And I am connected to the internet for another 30 days. Turns out I made another mistake. I should have known better. But I was told by Telkomsel it would take 2 hours for customs to lift the block on my phone. So I waited 2 hours and then more than 2 hours, and I was still waiting, and I still wasn't able to connect to the internet. But then, of course, the light bulb went off, and I realized, well, it doesn't happen automatically, probably. So you have to reboot your phone. So when I was at the grocery store waiting for the heavy rain to stop, I rebooted my phone, and boom, I connected to mobile internet. So I do have internet again. But ridiculous as it seems, I'm only allowed 30 days, and then that phone will be permanently blocked for the rest of my life. And if I ever want to use the internet in Indonesia again, I have to use another phone. Luckily, I do have a third phone, but if I didn't have one, of course, I would have to buy a new phone. And I told that story to the woman at Telkomsel that I just wanted her to understand the results of their policy. You know, if you get an Australian surfer who comes to Indonesia every year for a surfing holiday, or goes to Bali every year for their vacation, which a lot of Australians do, according to this policy, as it's being applied to me, they would have to buy a new phone every year for every trip, which is kind of ridiculous. But that is how the policy stands. And as I'm going up this steep hill, I'm passing by a construction site. For as long as I've been coming here, riding up and down this road to Sariak, a house here has been under construction. And I've been watching all of its stages. And they finally reached the point, it's taken quite a few months, where that actually looks like a house, has walls, windows, doors, and a roof. But they're still working on it. Certainly a lot of water here. With all the heavy rains, all the ditches running beside the road, filled with water, rushing past. Fields are soaked. It's a very wet world I find myself in. And I'm not quite sure how my legs are, how my knees are. By the time I get back to the village, I'll have ridden 20 kilometers, 19 or 20 total. And I can feel a twinge in my right knee. So I think I have to, if I'm going to do any cycling while I'm here, I'm going to have to ease into it slowly, do very small trips each day, rather than trying to go very far all at once. I have to baby my knees and take care of them. Yeah, this hill heading up the volcano is definitely first gear worthy. I'm way down in first gear. I'm powering my way up. And as far as the rain is concerned, I was thinking that maybe rainfall in the village is not indicative of rainfall that I would encounter everywhere. I think up here at this altitude on the slopes of the volcano, I think it would rain more frequently, more often, and for longer periods of time than it would away from the volcano. So even though it feels like it's going to be raining all day, every day up here, maybe if I came down off the volcano and went to other areas, it wouldn't be raining nearly as much. So that's something to consider. And the other thing to consider, of course, is that rainy seasons aren't all bad. You get beautiful greenery, and it's a little bit cooler, so climbing up this steep hill, if the sun were out, it'd be more interesting, more beautiful, but it would also be a lot hotter. Right now it's nice and cool. Got a nice wind coming off the volcano. And with a bit of drizzle, a bit of wetness in the air. Yeah, it's nice and cool. So can't complain about that. I'm getting relatively close to the village and Chatti's house. And I wonder if the ceremony from this morning is over or not, to see if all the vehicles, all the people are gone. I'll be riding right past his house as I go up. It is beautiful up here, though, that's for sure. There's just enough of a break in the clouds. I get some sun is hitting the villages on the side of the mountain here. Looks very nice from a distance. Still getting a lot of honks, friendly honks and waves and hellos, and people give me a thumbs up as they go by. Hello. Hello, how are you?
Hello.
Hi, hello. The last section of road into the village is the steepest section, so I'm crawling along at about 4.5 kilometers per hour. Could probably go faster if I got off the bike and started walking. Just went through the center square, or the central triangle of Sariak, and I'm now heading up the final stretch of road to my new home. Sweating pretty badly, despite the cool weather. Yeah, the sun actually came out, so the sun is beating down a little bit right now. Breathing a bit heavy, as you can hear. And here it is, the very last intersection. I go from cement pavement blocks to just a rough, rocky road for another 200 feet. And I'm back. Oh, very steep, very rough. And very muddy at the very end. I think I'm going to get off the bike and kind of walk it through this mud. I don't want to get the bike any dirtier than it needs to be. And that is it. I'm back in my room at the house in the village. My kettle is on the boil, about to make my cup of coffee to reward me for a job well done, getting my SIM card back up and running for another 30 days. And yeah, here I am. I'm connected to the internet. It's very nice. I can finally reach out and tell people that I arrived safely and that I'm here. And of course, I can update all my podcasts. I haven't been able to download new episodes because the last few days or last day and a half, I guess, I haven't been connected to the internet. So, a small adventure completed, and I'm going to sit back and relax. And yeah. I will talk to you in the next audio or video podcast journal. See you then.